Good evening. China's ambassador to the UK was summoned to the Foreign Office again today amid diplomatic tension over the execution of a British man convicted of drug smuggling. 53-year-old Achmal Shaikh died by lethal injection despite pleas for his mental health to be taken into account by the Chinese courts. His family says he was tricked into carrying a suitcase of heroin into China. From Beijing, Quentin Somerville reports.
Achmal Shaikh came to China 2 years ago, hoping to launch a pop career. Instead, this father of 5 was arrested when 4 kilos of heroin were found in his suitcase. Today, his troubled journey ended here, in a remote corner of this huge country. He was put to death by lethal injection for drug trafficking.
Well, China's decision to ignore Britain's repeated calls for clemency has raised questions about relations between the two countries. The Foreign Office called the execution totally unacceptable, saying that China failed in its basic human rights responsibilities. Here's our World Affairs correspondent, Mike Wooldridge.
China's ambassador to Britain arriving at the Foreign Office after being summoned for the second time in less than 24 hours. The British government's frustration that it could not win clemency for Achmal Shaikh matched by China's defence of its actions. The Foreign Office described it as a difficult conversation.
We won't hesitate to express our concern when we believe fundamental human rights have been abused. Of course, we differ with China, the US and other countries on the use of the death penalty. But the special factor in this case is putting to death a man with mental illness without a proper medical assessment is simply reprehensible.
British ministers talk frequently about relations with China going from strength to strength. In the case of Achmal Shaikh, the limits of British influence have been harshly exposed. The British government says it made 27 representations to China in the 2 years since he was arrested. Gordon Brown even spoke personally to the Chinese premier. This is by no means the first time the relationship has been tested as China's place on the world stage has grown. An anti-Chinese demonstration during this year's visit to London by Premier Wen Jiabao. But could today's angry exchanges herald a chill?
If this is viewed as part of a downturn in relations between China and Britain, and that, we're not getting on well, then I think it'll be seen as a very symbolic moment. However, we've had good relations for the last 4 or 5 years, and so the point of having good relations is you get through issues like this which are difficult, and with China there'll always be difficult issues.